Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is a little bit different. A lot of you guys always are curious on how I create my bouquets. I just make them at home. I'm not a professional. I just have this passion for working with flowers and creating different bouquets and whatnot. So you guys wanted to see a video on it, so hopefully you guys enjoy this. Also, I'm in the kitchen, so I don't know if the volume's a little bit off, so I'm sorry about that. But if you're curious as to how I created this bouquet, then just keep on watching. Okay, I want to start off by saying I am not a florist, I am not a professional, I have never gone to a class or been trained or anything. I just love flowers in general and I just love playing around with arrangement. So hopefully you guys like it. So I have a bunch of flowers here. There's definitely a pink girly theme going on. I thought it would be nice for summer. I have some peonies, some like peachy pink roses, baby's breath, and then this says like scented stem on the packaging, but I know it's not called that. I don't remember what these are called, but if you know, then let me know and remind me. But these are really pretty. I like them for height. So I have this really big vase here. I think I got it from Next actually. This is the vase I like to use whenever I make a really full, luscious bouquet. So let's just get started. I don't have too much foliage or leaves, so I'm just going to use what I have on the stems. I know that peonies have a lot of extra leafage on them, so I'm going to kind of mimic that to be my fullness and foliage. Normally when you make a bouquet, and I only know this because I have heard it, you would start with all of your foliage, and what foliage is just like your greenery, so different kinds of leaves just to kind of fill out the bouquet, because obviously if you were just going to use flowers, then you would need a lot of flowers to make a full looking bouquet. So if you have a lot of foliage, this is where you're going to use it. You're going to use it first, and then you kind of put the flowers around it how you want it. I'm going to start off with these peonies. They're so pretty. I love peonies. Who doesn't love peonies? And this is just the time of year to use them, but I'm going to start off with them just because they have the extra foliage on them. So I'm just going to measure how high I kind of want this bouquet. I think that's a little bit too high because then everything would be up here. I kind of want to keep it more mid-height, a little bit fuller, kind of closer to the vase. So I'm going to just cut off. I might have to take off this branch. Oh, sorry. Also in the water I just mixed in like the little vitamin pack that they give you with the bouquet. So I'm going to cut here. You want to start off with cutting off a small amount before you cut off too much, just to see where you want it. I think this is nice. Yeah. Okay, this one is like borderline a bit, I think, too short. As you can see right here, I think it's going to be a little bit getting in the way, so I'm going to take this one off as well. And I'm not putting it in straight, obviously. There are those like foam things you can put in a bouquet which like keep them perfect. I think you'd use them more for like weddings and whatnot, just for like that perfect looking bouquet, but this is just staying in my house, so I'm just going to put it on an angle because I want to lay it all out first just to see where I have gaps and where I need to add a couple more flowers. So I'm going to bring in a couple more peonies here. Okay, so there's a lot of extra foliage on this one, and I have a feeling it's going to be a little bit too small as well, but I feel like we could use some of these after, just because they're not too short and we could kind of just stick them in places that we might have some space for them. So I'm going to take off these. Okay, I'm going to keep doing this with the peonies, and then I'm going to go in with the roses. So this is our base layer. As you can see, I'm kind of going back and forth to see if I like the height. I think some of them were a bit too long. In the middle here, it's really crisscrossed and there's lots of tiny little spaces, which is really good for our next flowers to kind of put them in place so that they have a little bit more volume in areas and they're not all just like going flat like this. So I like to kind of create a base at the bottom with like lots of crisscrosses in the middle with the stems, just so that there's little like pockets for future flowers to go in to create more volume and height in the center. Alright, now I'm going to take some of these roses. These are such a pretty color. They're like kind of a peachy pink rose, and you want to pick up roses right underneath the head of the flower just so that you don't prick your finger on any of the little thorns. So that's how you hold a rose, in case you didn't know. But as you can see, there's lots of tiny little leaves on this one, so I'm going to cut off a little bit off the bottom. I always cut on an angle as well. I've heard that somewhere. I don't know if that's right, but that's how I would cut them. And then I'm just going to trim off the little leaves on the bottom section that would get caught in the vase. Maybe keep the top one. And this is where I'm going to start putting them in so that they're standing up a little bit higher. So now we're going to do a little layer of roses. the roses and the peonies, just so that it's not too layered looking. Now I know I'm going to get questions on where I bought all of these. I honestly just got them at Tesco and ASDA. Altogether, all of these flowers cost 18 pounds, which in the end, this bouquet would definitely cost way more as like a bouquet. Selling as a bouquet, it would be like probably 45 or 50 pounds if you were to buy this in an actual florist. So this is just a great way to save money if you love flowers in your home and you don't want to spend that big amount at a florist shop for a nice bouquet if you're having maybe a party or family get together, or I don't know, you just want to have a nice bouquet in your house. This is just a great affordable way to create something for a centerpiece but not spend a lot of money. I don't really know any specific right or wrong way with doing this. I kind of just like stick it in between all the other stems to see where I like it, and I keep also turning it around to see if I like it, from all angles. That's another thing I would suggest doing, because if you just stood and did it like this, then obviously you're going to see it from one angle and the other side might not be as nice. Unless you're putting this in a corner, then it's not a big deal, but you probably are going to put this in an area where you're going to see it from all angles. So just kind of keep turning it and see where you need another flower. So there needs to be another rose opposed to a peony. Kind of go back and forth with that. If you guys are from Northern Ireland, where do you go for like flower markets, if there is a flower market? Because obviously going to a grocery store, like you're still going to pay a little bit more than a market. So if you know of a market close to the North Coast, let me know, that would be great. Alright, so now I'm taking this scented stem, which I know is not the actual name. I'm just lightly ripping off the kind of leaves that are too far down. And I love these because they add a little bit of height and they just kind of change up the shape of the bouquet. You can definitely keep it nice and round and full. That's a certain type, but I really like bouquets that have dimension and height differences to them. So I'm not going to cut the bottom of this one because it is a little bit shorter. So I'm just going to kind of put this just where I think it would look nice. I might keep it to one area. I know that like you could put them all around, but I don't want it to look too pokey. So I have 4 or 5 of these. So I think I'm going to kind of cluster it in one area rather than putting it all over. I don't know. What do you guys think? Oh, I wish this was live so you can tell me, but I saw a bouquet the other day and it was, the height was mostly in one side, so I'm going to try that out because I thought it looked really pretty. We still have lots of roses and a couple peonies left, so I'm going to fill this up a lot more. This bunch of roses, there has to be like 20 of them, and these, I don't know, the color is just so beautiful. I don't know if it's picking up on camera, but it is so beautiful. And for the bunch of 20 roses, it was only 5 pounds at ASDA, and there was only one left, and I'm so glad I saw it. But I couldn't believe you got so many for such an affordable price. Is that normal? I don't think so. I think the most important thing to remember when doing this is to remember, have fun, because I'm not a trained florist at all, and I have so much fun creating florals. Like, I don't know what it is, but just take your time with it and step back if you need to kind of get a visual of what's going on, but have fun with it and don't take it too seriously. I think because this is like a form of art, it just happens. Like every bouquet is so different and everyone's style with bouquets are so different. So I like really soft, fluffy, I know fluffy is a weird description word to say about a flower, but I love like full looking bouquets. So someone else might like a really structured like tulip-based bouquet, so it's totally preference-based. But yeah, just take your time. Okay, I still have a bunch of roses left, but I want to go in with the Baby's Breath. This is a great filler as well if you don't have foliage, just to kind of, I don't know, fill any empty gaps and give a more soft little, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, it just gives a nice whimsical feel to the bouquet. So I'm going to go in with some of these. At this point, since it's looking quite full and almost done, I like to just kind of step back and keep twirling it to see if I like it from most angles and where I need to add a couple more stems or Baby's Breath, or just kind of like rearrange the flowers a little bit. It's kind of like the final touches of the bouquet. I think it's looking pretty good. I'm going to take a couple pieces of the foliage, like the longer stems here. Let me find a couple. And I think I'm just gonna kind of pop it right at the corners of the bouquet, just to kind of give some more greenery. And I'm not worrying too much if it's not touching the water. Kind of just want it for show. I think it just adds a little bit more to the bouquet. All right, I think it's looking pretty much done. I'm pretty happy with it. I love the fullness of it. I think this is so perfect for like a dinner party, or if you're just having a couple of friends over and you're gonna sit outside, this would just be such a nice centerpiece. There is still enough for another bouquet with like the roses and some baby's breath. So minusing that from all of this in price, if this was 18 pounds all together with every single flower used, which it wasn't, it probably would be a little bit less, more like 15 pounds. So 15 pounds for this like is unheard of. So go to a grocery store, or even better, a market, pick up your fresh blooms, create something, and just take your time with it. I know this is probably not perfect, but this is definitely more my style, just something a little bit more uneven and textured looking and different heights, and I just love how full it looks. Like, I love full looking flowers, so I'm happy with the results. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and it gave you a little insight on how I do my bouquets. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!